It was supposed to be just another charity gala. Crystal chandeliers, overpriced wine, and a playlist that screamed, "We have money and want everyone to know it." The Phoenician resort ballroom glittered like fool's gold beneath the Arizona stars, and I, Wade Martinez, stood near the silent auction tables in my best suit, the one I bought at Men's Warehouse 3 years ago for my wedding. Funny how that same suit would witness both the beginning and the end. My wife Blair, founder and CEO of Elite Occasions, was working the room like she owned it, which, in a way, she did. Every corporate event, every high society wedding, every politician's fundraiser in Phoenix seemed to flow through her perfectly manicured hands. Tonight, she was the woman in the black designer dress who commanded attention just by breathing. I was nursing a beer, the only thing at this shindig that didn't cost more than my weekly take-home from Phoenix Fabrication, when she tapped her champagne flute with a butter knife. The crystal ring cut through the chatter like a MiG torch through quarter-inch steel. "I'd like to make a toast," she announced, her voice carrying that polished confidence that came from years of schmoozing millionaires. The crowd of Phoenix's finest turned toward her like sunflowers following light. Lawyers, real estate moguls, tech executives, the kind of people who'd never set foot in a fabrication shop, let alone know the difference between structural steel and aluminum. I was smiling too, proud of how far she'd come, until she turned her head toward me and pulled out a sleek iPad. Her expression shifted to something I'd never seen before, cold, surgical precision. The kind of look a welder gets right before cutting through something that can't be repaired. "To my trial run," she said, loud enough for the entire ballroom to hear. "You were just a test husband." The words hit me like a 20-pound sledgehammer to the chest. For a heartbeat, the room went dead quiet. That perfect silence you get right before a structural beam snaps. Then she swiped across the iPad screen and held it out to me. Divorce papers. Already signed. Her signature neat and final at the bottom, like she'd been practicing. The champagne flute slipped from someone's hand, shattering against the marble floor. A woman in pearls gasped. A man in a $1,000 suit cleared his throat awkwardly. I could practically hear the gossip mill warming up its engines. "Blair, what the hell is this?" My voice cracked louder than I intended, cutting through the stunned silence like feedback from a bad microphone. She tilted her head like she was explaining basic math to a particularly slow child. "It's exactly what it looks like. You're ending our marriage here, in front of your clients?" "I didn't want to waste time with dramatics," she replied, cool as January steel fresh off the rack. "You've always said efficiency matters in business." Efficiency. Right. Like I was some quarterly report she could just file away. I stepped closer, my work-calloused hands trembling slightly, the same hands that had built half the structural frameworks in this city. "After everything I sacrificed for this company, I gave up double overtime shifts, Blair. I emptied my savings account to fund your startup when no bank would touch you with a 10-foot pole." She cut me off with a smile that was all teeth and no warmth, like a shark sizing up dinner. "Oh, Wade, don't make this messy. I would have made it here with or without you." My mouth went dry. The background chatter had stopped completely now. We were the evening's entertainment, apparently. "So, what we had, that was just some stepping stone?" "I prefer to think of it as strategic compatibility," she said, twirling the iPad between her fingers like it was a cocktail napkin. "We had a good run." The silence in that ballroom turned toxic. Every eye was on me. The blue-collar guy in the off-the-rack suit who'd just been publicly executed by his own wife. Some corporate lawyer whispered to his date. A city councilman's wife mouthed, "Oh my God." Someone actually pulled out their phone, probably already crafting the perfect social media post about the drama they'd just witnessed. I should have walked away. Should have kept what little dignity I had left and made a quiet exit. But something in me snapped. That same something that had kept me working 16-hour shifts to fund her dream while she networked at wine tastings. Why now? Why like this? She didn't blink. Didn't even have the decency to look uncomfortable. "Because you don't fit the brand anymore." That hit deeper than the divorce papers, deeper than the public humiliation. Blair wasn't just ending our marriage, she was rebranding me out of existence. Like I was some outdated logo that no longer served her corporate image. The irony was almost beautiful. The woman who'd built her entire business on authentic experiences and genuine connections had just demonstrated that she understood neither concept. But then again, I was probably the only person in that room who knew the difference between authenticity and marketing copy. I looked around the ballroom one more time, at the crystal, the marble, the faces of people who'd never worked a day of manual labor in their lives. Then I looked back at Blair, standing there in her designer armor, waiting for me to either grovel or storm out dramatically. Instead, I did something she wasn't expecting. I smiled. Not a bitter smile, not a broken smile, a genuine knowing smile, because in that moment, I realized something she'd missed in all her strategic planning. She'd just publicly humiliated the one person who knew exactly where all the financial bodies were buried. The guy who'd handled her books, managed her vendor relationships, and kept detailed records of every investment, every loan, every handshake deal that had built elite occasions from the ground up. "You know what, Blair?" I said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. "You're absolutely right. This is efficient." And with that, I turned and walked toward the exit, leaving her standing there with her iPad and her perfectly planned destruction, completely unaware that she'd just handed me the keys to her kingdom. The drive home was a blur of desert highway and crystallizing rage. Every mile marker between Phoenix and Mesa gave me more time to think, and thinking was dangerous territory right now. My hands gripped the steering wheel of my F-150, the same truck Blair had suggested I trade in for something more professional when her business started taking off. Funny how that truck was looking pretty damn reliable compared to my 7-year investment in marriage. Our house in Mesa felt different when I walked through the door. Not like coming home, more like entering a crime scene where I was both victim and detective. The granite countertops I'd installed myself during our 2nd year of marriage gleamed under the recessed lighting. Everything still smelled faintly of the coffee I'd made her that morning, back when I thought we were partners instead of me being her unpaid intern. Blair came in 20 minutes later, kicking off her designer heels with that little sigh she always made after client events, like the performance had exhausted her delicate sensibilities. "Quite a show back there," I said, not turning around from where I stood at the kitchen island, the same island where I'd spent countless nights balancing her books while she brainstormed with wine. "Don't be dramatic, Wade." "Dramatic?" I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. "You just handed me divorce papers like a party favor in front of half of Phoenix society, and I'm being dramatic." She opened the wine fridge, the expensive one she'd insisted we needed for client entertainment, but mostly used for her personal stress relief. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd picked up extra weekend shifts to pay for that thing. "It was efficient," she said, pulling out a bottle of Chardonnay that cost more than most people's daily wages. "Besides, people respect clarity. That kind of decisiveness leaves no room for misinterpretation. You humiliated me, only if you choose to see it that way." She poured wine like she was measuring chemicals for some experiment. "Wade, come on, don't act like this blindsided you. You felt it too. We've been growing apart." Growing apart, like we were continents drifting on tectonic plates instead of two people who'd made vows. "We've had rough patches," I said, stepping closer to the counter. "Every couple does. But you don't solve rough patches with public execution." The wine glass paused halfway to her lips. For just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Maybe guilt, maybe just annoyance that I wasn't rolling over and accepting my dismissal gracefully. "You should have seen it coming," she said finally. "We haven't been aligned in years." Aligned, like a business merger that wasn't performing up to quarterly projections. "I gave up everything for you, Blair." My voice was steady now, controlled. Years of working with dangerous equipment had taught me the value of staying calm under pressure. My overtime pay, my weekend shifts, my shot at foreman when Rodriguez retired. I sat at this very counter every night, managing your vendor contracts while you stressed over whether the centerpieces were on brand enough. She looked up at me finally, but there was no gratitude in her eyes. Just that clinical detachment I'd started noticing more and more over the past year. And I appreciate the support, but let's be realistic. I would have made it anyway. You were convenient. Convenient. Like a tool she'd borrowed from a neighbor and finally decided to return. Convenient how? "You filled the gaps," she said, as casually as discussing the weather. "You handled the practical stuff while I focused on vision and growth. You had stability, I had ambition. I felt something shift inside me, like the moment when you're welding and realize the metal has reached its breaking point. So, I was a placeholder. Don't be so black and white about it. You were a phase. She sipped her wine like we were discussing her morning yoga routine. Some people come into our lives to help us reach the next level. That's natural evolution. And now? She set down her glass and leaned against the counter, meeting my eyes with that boardroom confidence. Now I've evolved past what you can offer. The words hung in the air between us like toxic fumes. I stared at this woman I'd loved for 7 years, this person I'd sacrificed my career advancement for, and realized I was looking at a complete stranger. Or maybe I was seeing her clearly for the first time. You know what's funny? I said, and this time there actually was some humor in my voice, the dark kind that comes when you finally see the punchline you'd been missing. You built your entire brand on authentic experiences and genuine connections. Your marketing copy is full of words like heartfelt and meaningful. Her expression tightened slightly. But you just demonstrated that you don't understand either concept. You think people are disposable resources, relationships are strategic assets, and authenticity is whatever tests well with focus groups. I think you're projecting your insecurities. No, I cut her off, my voice still calm, but carrying the kind of edge that comes from working with 1500-degree metal. I think you made a tactical error. You see, Blair, I wasn't just your convenient husband. I was your business partner who kept meticulous records. Something flickered in her eyes. The first crack in that polished confidence. Every vendor contract, every financial transaction, every investor conversation, I documented everything, because that's what you do when you're building something legitimate. You keep records. The wine glass had stopped moving entirely now. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to start reviewing those records very, very carefully. The courthouse in downtown Phoenix felt like stepping inside an industrial freezer, gray walls, fluorescent lights, and that peculiar kind of institutional coldness that made everyone whisper even when they didn't need to. I sat at the plaintiff's table wearing the same Men's Warehouse suit, but this time it felt like armor instead of costume. 3 months of preparation had led to this moment. 3 months of late nights going through every receipt, every contract, every email thread that documented my contributions to elite occasions. My lawyer, Maya Santos, had been thorough. The kind of thorough that came from growing up in South Phoenix and understanding exactly what it meant when working people got screwed over by someone with a business degree. Across from us, Blair sat in a navy suit that probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. She kept checking her phone, like this was just another inconvenient meeting squeezed between client calls. Her attorney, some white shoe firm specialist, whispered something that made her nod confidently. She still didn't get it. Even now, she thought this was about emotions instead of evidence. Judge Sage Wilson entered, mid-50s, steel gray hair, the kind of no-nonsense expression that suggested she'd heard every variety of marital bullshit and wasn't impressed by any of it. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. We're here regarding asset division between Blair Martinez and Wade Martinez, specifically ownership stakes in Elite Occasions event planning company. Blair's lawyer stood first, all polish and practiced confidence. Your Honor, Mrs. Martinez is the sole founder, creative force, and public face of Elite Occasions. Her husband provided general spousal support, but he has no formal business ties or legal claim to company assets. Maya didn't even stand yet. She just slid a thick manila folder across the judge's bench with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're holding a winning hand. Your Honor, Mr. Martinez provided the initial startup capital of $15,000, handled all financial operations for the first 2 years, and sacrificed significant career advancement to support the venture's growth. Judge Wilson opened the folder and started flipping through pages, bank statements showing my initial investment, money I'd saved working double shifts for 8 months, copies of business tax returns where I'd signed as financial partner, email threads where Blair had introduced me to vendors as her business partner when she needed my credibility to secure contracts. Mr. Martinez, please state your case. I stood, not dramatic, just present. Maya had coached me to keep it simple, factual, and let the evidence speak. Your Honor, when Blair wanted to start Elite Occasions, no bank would give her a business loan. She had an idea, and a business plan, but no capital and no financial track record. I gestured toward the documents. I liquidated my savings account and provided $15,000 for startup costs. I left my position at Phoenix Fabrication, where I was in line for promotion to operations supervisor. For 2 years, I handled all bookkeeping, vendor negotiations, and client contracts while Blair focused on creative development. Do you have documentation of these contributions? Maya stood now and placed a second stack of papers on the bench. Signed vendor contracts listing Mr. Martinez as account manager. Banking records showing fund transfers from his personal savings. Notarized statements from Elite Occasion's first 5 clients confirming Mr. Martinez handled all their arrangements. The most beautiful part was that Blair had insisted on all that documentation herself. She'd wanted everything official and professional, probably for tax purposes, but it had created a perfect paper trail of my involvement. Blair's face was starting to show cracks in that polished composure. Her lawyer leaned over to whisper something urgent in her ear. "Your Honor," Blair's attorney said, standing quickly, "Mrs. Martinez acknowledges her husband's support, but Elite Occasion's success came from her vision, her networking, her creative direction." "Objection," Maya interrupted smoothly. "The question isn't about credit or creative input. It's about legal partnership and financial contribution." Judge Wilson held up a hand. "I've reviewed the documentation. Mr. Martinez, continue." "I never asked for public credit, Your Honor. I believed in what we were building and wanted Blair to be the face of the company. But I gave up career advancement and used my personal savings to fund a business venture. Under Arizona community property law, I believe that constitutes partnership investment." The judge spent what felt like an hour reviewing every document. The courtroom was dead quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional whisper from Blair's legal team. I could see her getting more agitated with each page the judge turned. Finally, Judge Wilson looked up, her expression carved from granite. "The court recognizes substantial evidence of Mr. Martinez's financial partnership in Elite Occasions. His documented contributions include initial capital investment, ongoing operational management, and sacrifice of personal career opportunities to support the venture." Blair shot to her feet. "Your Honor, this is—" "Mrs. Martinez, you'll remain seated." The judge's voice could have cut steel. "Mr. Martinez is entitled to 50% of all Elite Occasions, assets, including current accounts receivable, equipment, and future earnings." The silence that followed was perfect, not triumphant music or dramatic fanfare, just the beautiful sound of justice being served with appropriate legal documentation. Blair's mouth opened and closed like she was trying to process what had just happened. Her lawyer was frantically shuffling papers, probably looking for some technicality to challenge. I nodded once to the judge, buttoned my jacket, and walked toward the courtroom doors. No celebration, no gloating. Just the quiet satisfaction of a man who'd finally gotten his due recognition for honest work. Outside, Maya shook my hand with a grin that could have powered the building's electrical system. "Congratulations, partner," she said. "You just became a 50% owner of Elite Occasions." "Actually," I replied, already planning my next move, "I just became someone with something very valuable to sell." The coffee shop near my new workshop in Tempe smelled like possibility. Dark roast, fresh pastry, and the faint scent of ambition that comes when you're building something from the ground up instead of tearing it down. I'd chosen a corner table where I could spread out my business plans without curious eyes reading over my shoulder. Desert Crown Events. The name had been bouncing around in my head since the day I sold my shares in Elite Occasions to a private equity group. Blair had tried to block the sale, of course. Some legal mumbo-jumbo about protecting the company's creative integrity. But 50% ownership is 50% ownership, and the buyers weren't interested in her artistic vision. They were interested in cash flow and market position. The irony was delicious. Blair had spent years building Elite Occasions into the go-to company for Phoenix high society, and I'd just sold half of it to corporate raiders who'd probably strip mine it for parts within 6 months. My phone buzzed. Text from Cole Ramirez, the photographer who'd shot half of Blair's events. "Heard about the divorce settlement, man. Also heard you're starting something new. Coffee?" I smiled and typed back, "Desert Crown Events, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Within 2 hours, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. The DJ who'd always complained about Blair's micromanagement. The caterer she'd publicly dressed down at a wedding last month. The florist who'd told me privately that working with elite occasions felt like being slowly strangled by perfectionism. Word travels fast in the vendor community, especially when someone's been treating people like interchangeable parts instead of partners. Blair had built her business on the backs of talented professionals, then acted like she was doing them favors by paying their invoices on time. The next morning, Cole walked into the coffee shop with that easy grin that had made him Phoenix's most requested event photographer. Tall, laid back, the kind of guy who could make a bridezilla calm down just by cracking a joke at the right moment. Well, if it isn't the man who just became the most interesting person in the Phoenix events industry, he said, sliding into the booth across from me. Interesting's one way to put it, I replied. Vindicated might be more accurate. He laughed. Dude, the vendor group chat has been going crazy. Blair lost 3 major clients just this week, something about concern over company stability, after the divorce scandal hit the society pages. I sipped my coffee, feeling that warm satisfaction that comes from watching karma do its job with mathematical precision. What about her staff? Quinn Davis gave notice yesterday, said she was tired of working for someone who treated employees like coffee filters, disposable after one use. Cole leaned back, studying my face. So, what's this Desert Crown thing about? Real celebrations for real people, I said, pulling out a notebook where I'd been sketching ideas. Quinceañeras, graduation parties, retirement celebrations, anniversary dinners. Events where working families can feel special without emptying their kids' college funds. Cole's expression shifted to something more serious. You're talking about the market Blair always said wasn't worth pursuing. Blair said a lot of things that turned out to be wrong. I turned the notebook so he could see my rough business plan. But here's what she got right accidentally. Phoenix has thousands of families who want meaningful celebrations but can't afford elite occasions prices. They've been settling for community center rentals and grocery store cakes because nobody's serving that market professionally. And you think there's money in it? I think there's purpose in it. The money will follow. I leaned forward. Look, I'm not trying to compete with Blair's high-end market. I'm trying to build something she never understood. Authentic relationships with people who value substance over style. Cole tapped his fingers on the table, thinking. What are you offering? Creative director position, full autonomy over the visual side, competitive salary, equity stake, and most importantly, your opinion actually matters instead of being filtered through someone's ego. He was quiet for a moment, then extended his hand across the table. You know what? Blair always said I was too sentimental for high-end events anyway. Let's see what sentimental looks like when it's actually valued. We shook on it, and I felt something click into place. Not the desperate scramble of starting over, but the steady satisfaction of building something right from the foundation up. Over the next month, Desert Crown events came together like a precision weld. Quinn Davis joined as our coordinator, bringing her organizational skills and her relief at working somewhere that didn't require her to apologize for having opinions. The DJ, Marcus Rivera, came aboard with a music library that could make a grocery store opening feel like a celebration. The caterer, Linda Morales, specialized in the kind of authentic Mexican-American fusion that made elite occasions globally inspired cuisine look like cafeteria food. But the real victory came when my phone started ringing, not with calls from Blair. She'd finally figured out that ship had sailed. These were calls from families who had heard through the grapevine that someone was finally offering professional event planning at prices that didn't require a second mortgage. Mrs. Garcia wanted help with her daughter's quinceañera. The Johnsons needed someone to organize their son's high school graduation party. The Martinez family, no relation, was planning their grandfather's 70th birthday celebration. Each call felt like vindication. These weren't clients, they were neighbors. People who understood the value of hard work because they did it themselves every day. And somewhere across town, Blair was probably discovering what happens when you build a business on exploitation instead of relationships. The private equity group had already started restructuring elite occasions, which was corporate speak for firing expensive employees and cutting costs until nothing remained but profit margins and a fancy logo. Karma, it turned out, had excellent timing and a sense of irony that would make a welder proud. 6 months after the courthouse victory, I was installing new lighting in Desert Crown's expanded workspace when my phone buzzed with a text that made me smile. Elite Occasions filed for bankruptcy. Thought you should know. Maya. I read it twice, waiting for some feeling. Satisfaction, vindication, maybe even regret. Instead, I just felt empty. Like closing a book I'd never wanted to read in the first place. Desert Crown Events was thriving in ways that had nothing to do with Blair's failure and everything to do with treating people like human beings instead of profit centers. We'd handled 63 celebrations in 6 months, hired 4 full-time staff members, and built the kind of reputation that came from showing up when families needed us most. The Ramirez Quinceañera last weekend had been our biggest event yet. 200 guests, mariachi band, and a father who'd worked construction for 20 years to give his daughter a celebration worthy of a princess. When he shook my hand at the end of the night, tears in his eyes, I understood something Blair never would. Success isn't measured in profit margins. It's measured in moments that matter. My phone rang. Unknown number, but the area code was familiar. Wade, it's Blair. I almost hung up. Almost. But curiosity won out over wisdom. What do you want? Her voice was different, smaller, stripped of that corporate polish. I heard about Elite Occasions, about the bankruptcy. Yeah? And? I need to tell you something. A pause, then a sound I'd never heard from her before. Genuine vulnerability. You were right. About everything. I leaned against my workbench, surrounded by the tools of honest labor, and waited. The equity group gutted the company, fired everyone, liquidated the assets, kept the client list, and dumped everything else. Her laugh was bitter, broken. They offered me a position as a brand consultant for $30,000 a year, a consultant for the company I built. That's unfortunate, I said, meaning it less than I probably should have. Wade, I know I don't deserve to ask this, but I need you to understand something. When I called you a test husband, when I said you were convenient, I was lying. Not to you, to myself. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I was scared, she continued. Scared that if I admitted how much I needed you, how much you'd sacrificed for my dream, I'd have to face what that meant about who I'd become. I watched through the window as Cole set up lights for tomorrow's retirement party. A Phoenix Fire Department captain who'd spent 30 years running into burning buildings to save other people's lives. The kind of hero who'd never think of himself that way. You know what's funny, Blair? You spent years telling me I didn't understand business, didn't understand branding, didn't understand vision. I picked up a socket wrench, feeling its familiar weight. But you never understood the most basic business principle of all. You can't build anything lasting on a foundation of lies. I know that now. Do you? Because it sounds like you're trying to rebrand this conversation the same way you rebranded our marriage. Make it about fear instead of greed, vulnerability instead of cruelty. She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? I am? That I was wrong? I was? That I destroyed something real for something that turned out to be worthless? Yes, I did. I don't want you to say anything, Blair. Words are your specialty, remember? Action was always mine. So, what now? I looked around my workshop, at the plans for next month's events, at the photos Cole had taken of families celebrating life's important moments, at the business we'd built on respect instead of exploitation. Now you figure out who you are when you can't use other people as stepping stones. Now you learn what it means to build something instead of just taking credit for it. Wade, Blair, listen to me carefully. I spent 7 years of my life helping you become successful, and you threw it away like trash. But you know what? You did me a favor. How? You showed me the difference between building something and building someone up. Desert Crown isn't successful because I wanted revenge on you. It's successful because I finally started treating people the way I should have been treated. Through the window, I watched a young couple walk toward our office, probably hear about their wedding reception consultation. They looked nervous, excited, hopeful, the way Blair and I had looked once before success had poisoned her into thinking people were disposable. The equity group offered me a severance package, Blair said suddenly. $50,000 to sign a non-compete agreement. Take it? What? Take the money, Blair? Leave Phoenix, start over somewhere else, and try to remember what it feels like to be human instead of a brand. I heard her breath catch. You really think I can do that? I think you better figure it out, because the alternative is spending the rest of your life wondering why nothing you build ever lasts. I hung up before she could respond and set my phone aside. Outside, the Arizona sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the desert in shades of gold and amber. Cole waved through the window, probably wondering if I was coming to help with the lighting setup. 7 months ago, I'd stood in a ballroom wearing an off-the-rack suit, getting publicly humiliated by a woman who'd forgotten that love isn't a business transaction. Tonight, I was exactly where I belonged, building something real with people who understood that success without integrity is just expensive failure. Desert Crown Events wasn't my revenge against Blair. It was my proof that some foundations are strong enough to build a life on. And sometimes, that's the sweetest victory of all.